Welcome back to the Full Force Fathers podcast, episode number 86. Dave, this is a great number because 86 is my birth year. So this one has a little sentimental value to me today. How are you doing?
I'm doing great. We were a week off of Halloween, and you have come over to the dark side. You dressed up this year, which was phenomenal. And you went all in too. So thankfully, Dean sent me the picture because I would have never believed it otherwise.
Yeah, sure. I did go all in for Halloween this year. But the funny thing, it wasn't for the Halloween. It was for the trunk or treat. I went all in. We dressed up as the cast from Hocus Pocus, and I was Billy Butcherson. So if you want to see pictures, check out my Instagram or Dean's Instagram. You'll see the pictures of me dressed up as Billy Butcherson. It came out pretty damn good. I'm not gonna lie. You, right on cue, as we all knew, you were Oscar the Grouch, and you fit that bill perfectly. And the best thing was, it was so. We mentioned the weather last week on Halloween. You really can't understate how cold it really was for you, and that costume actually probably helped you out pretty well.
Oh, it was huge. It was a saving grace. We were going to sell the costumes right afterwards, but Casey and I both agreed it might be a wise costume to have here as a backup for the cold. Because we had a ridiculous stretch of cold weather last week where the mornings it was at 24. So by the time we got done trick-or-treating that night, it was in the upper 30s. So it was cold. The kids were freezing. Bryce was freezing cold. Kendall wasn't too bad, but yeah, Bryce was frozen.
Yeah, no, that you got that nasty spell. Hey, listen, for those of you that are listening, as you know, Dave and I are both from Connecticut, and on November 1st, I woke up to a text message from my father at the house, and the ground was covered in snow. So yeah, there you go. That's all you need to know as to why we left Connecticut. You still experience a lot of that Connecticut weather, unfortunately, in Tennessee. I do not. I actually was swimming on November 1st, and Dave was pretty upset about it. So,
man. Yeah, I was upset. We don't get as much snow. We don't get the snow that Connecticut gets, and we don't get the prolonged cold that they have, but we definitely get cold days. There's no doubt about it.
Yeah, no, you do. You do. And like I said, when we were in Virginia, that first winter we were there, we did get snow once. But yeah, so we're on episode 86. We're going to kick it off here. We always start with numbers, but last week, a legend in the sports world, as you know, Dave and I are big sports people. A legend in the sports world died last week, Mr. Bobby Knight. So I don't know. You want to talk about him a little bit here? Just, I'll let you go with it.
Known as the general for his time at Indiana. But he started his career at the young age of 24 at Army, where he was the head coach. He coached Mike Krzyzewski there, actually, for those that don't know. One great coach coaching another great coach. 3-time national champion, all at Indiana. He was part of the last undefeated college basketball team when they won it all in 1976. All in, he had 661 career wins at Indiana. He made it to the NCAA tournament 24 of 29 times while he was there. He finished his career at Texas Tech. And finished with 902 career wins, which puts him 6th on the all-time list. Here's an interesting thing for you, though. And everybody thinks of Bob Knight as this tough, hard guy. Remember, he threw the chair across the court. He choked a player. I mean, he's had his fair share of things. This is an interesting thing I read about when he was at Texas Tech. I think it was his 3rd season. He gave back his salary because the team didn't perform, and he took the ownership of it. He gave back the 2nd season salary just because he was grateful for the job. So all he took was his base pay was $250,000. All he took was $15,000, which was the minimum he had to take to get benefits. Okay, so he took the $15,000. For the next year, he took nothing because he said he didn't earn it. He didn't get a 20-win season. So the team was bad, and he took all the ownership for it. And, oh, by the way, he won 20 games in 5 of his 6 seasons there. So it was the one season that he didn't. And he just gave back the money. So tough Bob Knight. He had high standards for everybody, including himself. And I think that's what I like most about him, and I remember most about him.
Well, what I remember most about him, and I think as we've gotten older, we've appreciated it. You and I especially appreciate more his fuck off attitude. He was hard nosed. He didn't really care what you thought. He wanted to win. And I think the world could use some more Bobby Knight. Unfortunately, Kids are weak these days. Everyone gets a participation trophy. A little more Bob Knight would do this world really, really well because, hey, he was hard. Like you said, I'm not saying choke players and, but listen, throwing a chair every once in a while gets some anger out, and there's nothing wrong with that. But the fact of the matter is winning was important. Hard work was important, discipline, all those things. And that was the key to Bobby Knight's success. He demanded a lot. And that's why I think, we could use a little more Bob Knight in the world.
Yeah. He, after he was done coaching, he did a stint at ESPN as an analyst.
Yeah.
I'll forget, he was working in the studio then. And the first few times I worked with him, I was always terrified that if somebody made a sound in the studio while he was trying to do TV, he was going to pick up a chair and chuck it at us. So it was one of those things like you just walked around kind of on pins and needles, like you weren't sure what it was going to be like. But he was a really nice guy, not like that at all. And came to really appreciate him and who he was, and in the brief moment that I got to spend with him.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, so rest in peace, Bobby Knight, one of the greats, one of the all-time greats. But moving on to numbers 86. Once again, football heavy number, not as heavy as last week, but some Hall of Famers in there. And I'll start with Buck Buchanan, defensive tackle, 4-time All-Pro, 8-time Pro Bowl, Super Bowl champ, 70 and a half career sacks. These are your Hall of Fame guys at 86. Stanley Morgan, wide receiver, 4-time Pro Bowl, over 10,000 receiving yards and 72 touchdowns. And great name, Boyd Dowler, wide receiver, 5-time. This is the stat for the week. He was a 5-time NFL champion with the Packers and a 2-time Super Bowl champion with the Packers. So he won 7 championships in an era that's unheard of. And it's also in an era where receiving was just not a thing. It was, obviously hard-nosed, run the football. He had over 7,000 receiving yards and 40 touchdowns in a time when no one threw the football. It was all, the ice bowl and all that other shit. But think about it. 7. Yeah. So it's the equivalent of winning 7 Super Bowls. He won 5 NFL championships and 2 Super Bowls. So he won 7 world championships. That's pretty impressive. Like, that's Tom Brady level.
That is Tom Brady level. That's fantastic. What an awesome stat, man.
Yeah. But the other one, most common for us, guys in our 30s, 40s, Hines Ward, 4-time Pro Bowler, 2-time Super Bowl champ with the Steelers. Out with this, exactly 1,000 career receptions. Right on the number. He had 1,000 career receptions, over 12,000 yards, 85 touchdowns. One of the hardest, strongest, most bad receivers, dude. He was tough as nails. He might, like an Anquan Bolden type of player, just tough as nails. Played for the Steelers, shit weather.
That's all that whole Steelers team. That's all that whole Steelers team was. It's always just tough, gritty, just get it done sort of group of guys. And Hines Ward's definitely was that.
Yeah, and then some more common. Antonio Freeman, a few years back, but a couple tight ends. Zach Ertz, very famous tight end. Todd Heap, also a famous tight end in our generation. Not to the level of some of these other guys, but all wore 86. And then for your weekly racing, 86. How about the guy, best nickname I've heard in a while, Neil Soapy Castles. Soapy Castles was his nickname. Don't ask me why he's got the nickname of Soapy, but he does probably have one of the greatest things I've ever heard happen in sports. He's got the most starts in the 86 car. He started 95 times. No wins, but here's the deal. This is why Soapy Castles takes the cake. Okay? He did get out of his car and grab a pistol out of his car and shoot the flag out of the flagman, the guy who's the starter, and shoot it out of his hand because he had gotten in an argument with the flag guy when he says he lapped somebody, and then they made him go back out of the rotation, said he never lapped the guy. So he literally got out of his NASCAR and shot the flag out of the guy's hand. Is that one of the stupidest things you've ever heard in your entire life?
Is there a video of this? I mean, that would be the most incredible thing. We've got to search and see if there's video of this.
I don't know if there's any video.
When was this? When did he race? When did this guy race?
This is a long time. They said he was part of the old school NASCAR. So this was like 60s. This is a long time ago.
Okay.
We're talking like
okay.
70, 60, 70 years ago. But just to think, he grabbed a firearm out of his NASCAR and literally shot the flag. Listen, we know NASCAR's a rough. That's a roughneck
What a
crew.
story. Yeah, wow. That is awesome. That is a phenomenal story.
Yeah,
Soapy getting it done.
soapy.
Just pulling a pistol out. Bang!
Just pulls
It's like a
the
TV
peacemaker.
show.
Yeah, pulls the peacemaker out right there. Just
That's
because he's
awesome.
angry. But and
That's
in
so
hockey,
great.
as the resident hockey expert, there is actually one hell of a hockey player.
Yes.
Nikita Kucherov. If you watch hockey, you know who Nikita Kucherov is. Stanley Cup champion with the Lightning.
No.
He's won the Hart Trophy. He's won the Pearson. He's won the Ross. He's won all the awards. He's already scored 100 points 3 times in his career. And actually, when I was putting the notes in, he's definitely on, I don't know, he's on pace this year, I guess. But through the first 6 games of the season, he had already had 8 points. Or he already had 11 points. He already had 6 goals and 5 assists through 8 games. But here's your Wayne Gretzky stat for the week, because we can never have a hockey tie-in without the great one. So if Nikita Kucherov was to score 100 points from every season now, because he already has 3, if he could score 100 points every single year from now until 2036, he will tie Wayne Gretzky as for the most 100-point seasons.
But he still wouldn't tie his record in points.
Yeah, no, oh no. This would
Right?
just tie one of the records of 100-point seasons. But he also that means he would
also be 43 at that point.
Yeah, he'd have to be this good through his 40s to tie Gretzky's record.
You can always count on Brett for your Wayne Gretzky statistical comparison.
It's just another Wayne Gretzky stat that blows your mind, because in all other sports, there's just nobody like him. He 10x laps every single player in his sport when it comes to records. There's no one close. I mean, nobody close to anything. He scored over 200 points in a year.
Berserk.
Yeah.
Berserk.
But anyways, that's your Wayne Gretzky. That's your stat. But listen, Nikita Kucherov is a stud hockey player, so we're not going to take that away from him. But we're going to jump into the Bible verse today, and it comes from Ecclesiastes. And it's a little bit longer, so I'm going to read it right from the book. But Ecclesiastes chapter 1, right off the rip, verse 1 through verse 11. And it starts, meaningless, meaningless, says the teacher, utterly meaningless. Everything is meaningless. What do people gain from all their labors at which they toil under the sun? Generations come and generations go, but the earth remains forever. The sun rises and the sun sets and hurries back to where it rises. The wind blows to the south and turns to the north. Round and round it goes, ever returning on its course. All streams flow into the sea, yet the sea is never full. To the place the streams come from, there they return again. All things are wearisome, more than one can say. The eye never has enough of seeing, nor the ear has its fill of hearing. What has been will be again. What has been done will be done again. There is nothing new under the sun. Is there anything of which one can say, look, this is something new? It was here already, long ago. It was here before our time. No one remembers the former generations, and even those yet to come will not be remembered by those who follow them. Ecclesiastes is the book of the Bible that I'm reading right now, and I'm taking it a chapter at a day. That's just the first 11 verses of chapter 1. And I break that down. The word vanity comes to mind. There's a lot of different meanings of it. In other versions of the Bible, the word is toil. Everything, and the way I look at it is this. No matter what, people are going to chase, right? They're going to chase stuff. They're going to chase status. They're going to chase everything. But at the end of the day, none of that matters. It all returns back to the way it was previous before your time came here, right? The sun rises, sun sets, returns. The water flows from the streams, it comes back. So it really means, you're chasing everything, but in the end, what are you chasing? What is it? What is it? You know, everyone's reaching for more. What are you really after? Because at the end, none of it, it's all meaningless at the end, right? You go, however you go and what you believe in at the end of the day, none of it's going with you. So all the time and the energy that you spend trying to go after things, at the end, it really doesn't matter, you know, and it just really, really hits me more because, as you know, we really just try to focus more on the simple things and the things that are important, your family, being close to your family and your friends, and, you know, doing something that you love versus chasing something for money or whatnot. I mean, do you have any thoughts on that verse? I mean, it was a long one.
Yeah, I mean, I think the initial thought that comes to mind is like, what are we all doing here, right? What are we
Mm-hmm.
doing? What are you doing every day? Because if everything's going to go back to the way it was before you were here, what is your purpose? Why are you here?
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's a great question for people to ask themselves and think about. And you kind
Mm-hmm.
of touched on it. We're here for those little things, connecting with your family, your friends, making the most of that time. Um, we've said it before, you can't take it with you, right? You can't take anything with you. So while you could earn a ton of money and make a lot of money, and if that's what's driving you, great. But what do you do with that in the end? Are you going to leave it so that the world can be a better place after you're gone? Or like, you know, that's a great question to just ask yourself, sit and ponder and think about. Why are you
Mm-hmm.
here? Because it's true. After you leave,
Yep.
I mean, how many people in this world are truly remembered by anybody outside of their own family, their immediate family, right?
Very,
And it really
very
goes
few.
one generation down, maybe two. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So it really it's an interesting thing to think about, and I hope our listeners will take a moment to really reflect on that.
Yeah, and I was researching, you know, and a good thing about Ecclesiastes is it was written by King Solomon, and it comes right after Proverbs. So as you all know, that Proverbs has a lot to do with wisdom, um, and folly and things like that. So it's kind of an extension of Proverbs. But like I was doing some research on Ecclesiastes this week because that's what I'm reading right now. And you know, I saw a couple of good points that someone made, and you know, like you just mentioned it, there comes a point in your life when you stop and you reflect upon what you have done, you know, where you've been, what you've done, and how far you've come, right? In Ecclesiastes, and this is I'm paraphrasing from something that I read, and it says it's the epitome of life's reflection by King Solomon. You know, he probably wrote it in his later years, you know, but it kind of reads like a he used the word photo album, like a scrapbook or something like that, right? Where, you know, just your perspective, how it changes over time, and what, you know, what's the true meaning of life. And you said the word purpose, you're reflecting upon yourself. So I do advise
Mm-hmm.
everyone go read Ecclesiastes. It comes right after Proverbs. It's a very good read, and it perspective's a good word. Puts things in perspective of where you actually are at your life, and it makes, if you anything, you're going to stop and reflect and think for a little bit upon your life. You know what I mean? And I think it's a great book. It's a great book to go out and read. But so Ecclesiastes 1 through 11 is today's Bible verse. Go out and read it. Read through the chapters. Read through the book itself. But on to big and better things, Dave, because terrible tie in here. But if King Solomon wrote this in his later years, I think you've officially hit later years. Why don't you let everyone know what did we just have? What did you just have?
Consider it later years, but I think a better segue would be about reflection because I've definitely spent some time reflecting lately. I just crossed the big 40, man. I am officially 40. 40 as of today, as the listeners are listening to this. I've hit another decade. And wow, to think that I'm 40 is sort of wild. It's kind of wild to think about.
Yes, happy birthday, happy 40. Did you get the cane? I mailed you a cane. Did you get that yet? Did it come in the mail yet? Because I know as you age, you're going to need that thing
No,
to help stabilize your walking.
I, I definitely am going to need that. I haven't gotten it yet. I'll be looking forward to seeing it though. That'll be
Yeah,
fantastic. But you're just a few short years behind me, so don't get too cocky there. You're well on your way. You're
dude,
well on
I
your way to
have so
40.
much.
But it's
I have
weird,
over.
right? Like,
I have 730 days and then some before I become 40.
quick math. Quick math. 730-ish days. That's good. But yeah, man, it's weird. 40 is weird. Does it feel different? No. But when you think back and you're like, wow, I'm 40, I don't like age doesn't really scare me at all. Like, it's not really a thing that scares me. But when I just look at the sheer time, right, 40, like, wow, I'm old. I'm older, you know? Wow, like how did I land at 40? It seems like just yesterday I was a kid running around doing things. Then it also seems like yesterday that I was, you know, graduating high school, college. Um, but it's crazy. And it got me thinking like, you know, like what was the best decade so far of my life? You know, you think about it, I've got I've got, you know, 4 decades that I can choose from.
Mm-hmm.
But I think this last one, man, my 30s were great. I love my 30s.
Yeah.
I am gonna miss the 30s. I hope the 40s can be, you know, right on par with the 30s.
Yeah, no, that's a good point. I mean, you said how quickly we're aging. I just last week, this past weekend was my 20-year high school reunion, which I did not attend. I wasn't going to fly back to Connecticut to attend my 20-year high school reunion. And I don't really think a lot of people went. But see, that's the other thing I noticed about these high school reunions. You and I, like we're transient, you move, and that's more common now. Back in the day, when you were born there, you lived there, you died there. So those reunions were probably more packed than they are now because like now, shit, it's literally a Facebook invitation to your freaking reunion. You know what I mean? I think like 40 people
Well,
RSVP'd on Facebook.
yeah, that's the thing though too. Prior generations, I mean, before social media, I mean, there was no way to keep up with anybody.
Mm-hmm.
So reunions were your only way to really connect and see how things were doing. Now with social media, everybody's on that and they can just see how everybody's doing all the time. So there's really no need for people like to feel the pressure to spend the money on a plane ticket, go back to hometown and um and sit through a reunion. And
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, it times have changed, and I think we'll start seeing that drop. I mean, shit, I remember my grandmother; she was going to, I forget. I mean, it was like 60 year high school reunion, 65 year high school reunions that they would still go to. You know, and it
Yeah.
used to be it would get sadder as the years went on because fewer and fewer people would be there as they were dying off in later years. But yeah, the times have changed in regards to that.
Yeah, my grandma used to say that high school reunions, once you got above 60, at the funeral home.
Yeah, yeah, it's true. It's true. Yeah, it's kind of sad to think about, but it's true.
Yeah.
But yeah, man, a lot of time to reflect, and it's interesting. The old saying came back to me as I kind of thought about it. You know, we often overestimate what we can do in a single year, but we underestimate what we can do in a decade. And I felt like that was really true for the last 10 years for me. You know, every year I have big plans. This is what I want to do, want to do, want to do. You get to the end of the year, like, did I do it all? No, maybe not. But when you look back on a stretch of 10 years and I think of some of the things that happened in that 10-year stretch, wow, I lived a lot of life in 10 years there, which was great.
So you said like you're looking forward to the next this decade, right? 40 to 50. What are some
Yeah,
highlights, some highlights in your 30s? Like what are some things that tie into what we do here at Full Force Fathers that were in your 30s? You know, like what do you have any examples or kind of like a syllabus of what your 30s were like?
sure. Yeah, I mean, I started my 30s when I was still at ESPN in my 30s when I was starting my 30s. I my entire stretch of college game day was then. You know, career wise won 3 Emmy awards in that time stretch, which was incredible. Got to travel the country, see so many interesting towns and cities across the country, which was awesome. As full force fathers, you know, I wanted to make family more of the priority. I felt like I wasn't doing that there, so we moved. Moved to Arizona, developed a life there, and which was incredible. Became a father. I mean, technically, I became a father at 29, but it was really with three or 4 months left in my 20s before I hit 30. So really, I look at my 30s as raising 2 kids to this point, becoming a father and starting this full force father journey. Lived in 3 states. You know, got out of debt. Started that. That all happened in my 30s. Going from somebody who is consumed by debt into somebody who doesn't do debt, now working for the company that got me there, and now creating this mission and going down this path. So, man, a lot of stuff happened. Some great friendships. Met you in my 30s. How about that? And here we are. So, yeah, 30s were good, man. They were real good.
Take us kind of down that debt financial your financial take us down like your 30s financial journey, because a lot of people think by the time you're 30 you have to know what you want to do for the rest of your life and you already have to be doing this and that, and I don't feel like that's
Mm-hmm.
the most common thing anymore. where back in the day, our parents, especially our fathers, at 18, you got out of high school. My dad went the professional baseball route before he broke his leg in half. But that was a blue collar thing. Like you got out of high school and you went to your trade or you went to your blue collar job, and you were already set.
Mm-hmm.
Where now you had a lot of change in your 30s, right? Your financials changed where you started swamped in debt to getting out of debt to building wealth to multiple jobs. Give us a little rundown on that.
Yeah, I mean, when Kendall was born, we were over our head with debt. Had so much, it just continued to pile on, pile on, pile on. We're just living life out of control. Didn't want to face the reality of where we were in our careers, and that we needed to spend time actually building a life together and not just using credit cards as a crutch to get the life that we wanted. So it was when after Kendall was born, I really felt the pressure of having a child, providing for that child, giving them experiences, feeling the weight of every time a bill would come to the mailbox and not being able to pay it. How am I going to pay it? And strategically thinking like, all right, I'll be able to pay this on this day, that on that day, and just kind of pushing stuff out and really trying to like outthink the debt. Like I could, it was like a game of chess, like doing this, doing that, moving things around to be able to do it. Using the rollovers and the zero interest and like all these like strategic things to make it look like I was doing well and I wasn't. And then fast forward to when Bryce was born. Before he was born, that's when we really dove into the plan, started working the baby steps and working ourselves out of debt. And a few months after Bryce was born, we were debt free, and then we've never looked back of consumer debt. And it did. It changed our life. We never would have been able to move to Arizona had we kept all that debt and lived the life we would have lived. You and I never would have met, become friends. Full Force Fathers never would have came to be. Don't know where I would be now. So that journey shaped a lot of things that changed in our life. And I look at God as the overpower being there that's pulling those strings and showing me when it was time to do things, because he knew he had a path for us. And the path we were going down wasn't the right one. And thankfully, he steered us and got us going on the path that was meant for us. And I truly believe that all those things happen for a reason and that there's a greater power making them come to fruition. We've just got to be brave enough to see those things when they come and go and grab them.
Yeah, I feel like Ecclesiastes, that version kind of, that verse 1 through 11 today kind of mimics a journey where you had reflection, and it also it details why things are meaningless, right? Like you were chasing something that was just you didn't need, or you're going about it the wrong way, and you're like, no way, this is not. There's more important things. You left ESPN, you got debt free because there was more important things in life, giving your kids experiences and spending that time with them versus going after things that were truly meaningless things. It ties into it. Ties into that verse pretty well. And what about, this is another kind of for those younger dads that don't really know what they want to do with their life or they haven't figured it out yet. You went through how many different jobs did you have? Jobs/careers in your 30s. And I'm not doing this for you to laugh. Like it's not making fun of you or anything like that, because I change jobs too, because I get bored. Like, do you have any tips or advice for dads out there that are like, fuck, maybe this is it, maybe this isn't it? Is it okay to start again? Is it okay to walk away? We talked about a few episodes ago about when it's time to change, right? Is there, what was the deciding factors and things like that?
Yeah, it's okay to change. We talked about that a few weeks ago, which is true. It's okay to change, and you got to change and maybe change again. When I left ESPN, so I was in television, right? I was in television as a director. Left, stayed in television, but in a different role, in a management role at University of Arizona. Did some stuff there. It wasn't for me. I realized it wasn't for me. Left that job. Took an opportunity because I thought I knew I wanted to be somewhere in the financial space. I wanted to be doing something with money. Here we are. We're talking about money on this show. I love that. So I went and tried my hand at becoming a financial advisor, which didn't work out. Maybe it was the wrong fit. Who knows? Didn't work out, but that's okay. I tried it. I went for it. After that, I took a job as a project manager with a telecommunication company. Something totally different, but a friend I knew had an opening, knew I was looking for something at the time, brought me in. Did that until the company failed. Did real estate, got back into freelance directing, and now I'm a project manager at Ramsey Solutions in Tennessee. So 3 moves, bunch of different jobs, finding my way. Oh, worked at Home Depot in there, worked at UPS in there as little part-time jobs to keep money coming in, man. Um, I look back right at the beginning of my 30s, and I told you, it was with ESPN, won 3 Emmy Awards, was on the greatest show on television, in my opinion, working a dream job. Decided that wasn't right. I look back, I don't regret any of it. I'm happy where I'm
Yeah.
at. I love where I'm at. My relationship with my kids is significantly better. My relationship with Casey is significantly better. Those things are what matter to me. And despite all the change, we are thriving. It's good, and I'm happy with it. And it's okay. If you're at that stage of your life, you're like, you know what? I committed so much of this time to this thought of this is what I wanted to do forever. Who knows what they want to do forever? Forever is a really long time. It's okay for things to change. My
Mm-hmm.
dream in high school and in college was to be at ESPN, be a director there. And I did that. And I was thrilled with it and I loved it. And I still love directing. Don't get me wrong. It's still a passion of mine. I still freelance and I do it here and there. But over time, my passion and the things that I really wanted to see through have changed. And at some point, you just have to trust your gut and you have to say, you know what, I'm going to go for this. And if it doesn't work out, who cares? If your family supports you and they're with you, that's all that matters. And it's worth exploring those things. Otherwise, life isn't worth living.
Yeah, no, it's funny how you always see these, this is the social media world that you live in, or that we live in as Americans. It's like the 20s, figure out what you want to do. The 30s, excel. 40s to 50s, wealth build. 50s to 60s, enjoy life. 60s, retire, whatever, blah, 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 blah. It's funny. You had a lot of change in your 30s. Now, our major change was when we left. I was still in my 20s when we left Connecticut. And, but also same thing with jobs. Tons of, part of me is my ADHD. When I want to do something, I do it. And then it's a blessing and it's a curse, because then I get bored of things. You know what I mean? Because my brain never shuts off. It's like,
Yeah.
I came, I saw, I conquered, right? I want to do this. I do it. And then I'm like, okay, it's done. But for me, it started, like your passion is money, right? And helping people financially. You love talking about, helping people get out of debt and succeed with their money. And for me, it always comes back to the fitness side of things, right? I was a fitness freak in Connecticut, moved out here, worked at a gym, personal trainer, general manager of a gym, fitness, then transitioned into, I was selling memberships. So I learned a lot of sales techniques there. Then I transitioned to cars, selling cars. Then I transitioned to the finance department, selling loans. Then I went from car loans to home loans, right? A couple odd jobs in there in between to make some extra money to scrape by. But we both have come to the point of, like, fitness is my thing, finances are your thing. I can dabble a little bit from what I learned from you. You can dabble a little bit from what you learned from me. But that really is the whole purpose of Full Force Fathers is here. We want to help fathers out there that are going through transitions, that don't know what's going on, that don't know where they want to be, if they're unhappy, if they're, if it's their money, they need to get their shit together. If it's their fitness, they need to get their shit. But how it all ties together, and that's really the main thing here at Full Force Fathers. What we're trying to do is trying to help dads create a community of badass dads that are providers for their family. They are the dad that their kids want to look up to and be someday. They are the father and the husband that their wives have always dreamed of marrying. And that's what we do here. That's what we want to do here. And I love how so much of our life's experiences have tied into what we're doing here, right? It's always come back to this, no matter whatever we've done. And we took a leap of faith 86 episodes ago, 87 weeks ago, and recorded episode 1. In what I really want to ask those out there, because now, like you said, I'm coming up on the end of my 30s, and we keep wanting to develop in this thing, and we've been doing consistent podcasts, and like, we want to hear from you, those listeners out there. Like, what can we do to help you more than just a weekly episode of listening to us? Do you want a weekly, it could be anything. And this is like an open forum for you and I to discuss. And those that are listening, please follow us on social media, send us messages, text us if you know us personally. How can we help? How can we make Full Force Fathers a better experience, or more, hands-on experience? You know what I mean?
Yeah, I think that's great. Brett and I do have that experience and those things. Financial coaching is something I'm passionate about. Happy to help people with that. Brett is the fitness guy. He loves helping people with fitness. We're here to help fathers. That's what we want to do. Strengthening fathers in society is something that Brett and I are extremely passionate about as we continue to grow this show. And Full Force Fathers as a whole, that is what our primary goal is to strengthen the role of the father in the family. And that is something that we are going to continue to strive for.
Yeah, because whether you want to admit it or not, the nuclear family is the most important singular thing that helps this world exist and especially this country exist. And one thing that you've seen statistics, we've gone over statistics on podcasts with dad out of the home versus dad in the home. And the one thing that we want to help do is shore that up. Like the nuclear family to both of us is the most important thing. Eating dinner with your family at night, being there with each other, and being in the household and being present. Because once they take the dad out of the home, that's where everything can shift, right? And we don't need to go down the rabbit hole of public education and all that other stuff that's going on in the world. And forcing moms to work too, because it's so unaffordable to live on one income like it used to be. But that's why we're here. We really want to hear from you and see how we can help you. Just random ideas, right? We do a weekly podcast. If you want to do weekly calls, we could get a group together and do a weekly call on a Zoom. Or if you want to do, if you're a tech savvy type of dad and you want more social media content, if that's the best way to interact with us, we can do more social media content, emails and text messages and all those things that are all available to us at our fingertips. We're open to all of it to help anybody and every father out there that needs it. Whether you are a father that's already financially successful, or you're just looking for some tips for college savings, or if you're a fat piece of shit and you want to lose 100 pounds, or you're already fit, or you're doing just enough to get by and you want a little bit more push, or if you want to do, I love the idea of a men's Bible study group too. Like if you want to become more in touch with your faith, like that's why we're here. And this is like I said, an open invitation to reach out to help those that want it. So please reach out. Like I said, the number one most important thing you can do for Dave and I is to share the show. That's it. Because one person shares it to their audience, and then one person from that, and that's how we can get the snowball effect, to help as many dads out there as possible. Not to get off topic and talk about us, but talk about the show and what we're looking for. But this is what we're looking for. This is Dave's life experiences in the 30s tie in perfectly to what we're trying to do, right? Because all of us need a shoulder. We need someone to lean on, someone to talk to, someone that can help us. It takes a village is the saying, you know what I mean? Or in Proverbs, you need advisors, right? A group of advisors, to get to where you want to go or what you're looking to do. It's hard to do it alone. It's hard to do it alone.
Yep. Well said. Well said.
So, but with that note, Dave, we're gonna check out here on episode 86. It's been a great show. Happy birthday to you old man. Look for that cane, and take us home. But please share the show. Please let everyone know what we're all about and what we're doing, and we'll talk to you soon.
Everybody get out there, continue to live the full force life. Help us out. If you like the show, give it a share. Give it a 5-star review. All those things help. They help boost it up so other people hear it. Other fathers are going to hear it. We'll make a bigger impact across the country. So we look forward to seeing you next week.